Hi, I'm Paul with RackOutfitters.com, here to give you an overview of the installation of the Yakima BaseLine JetStream roof rack system. On the vehicle behind me, we've already installed the front crossbar. Here on the bench in front of me, we've pre-installed the driver's side tower and have left the passenger side tower completely uninstalled so we can go over all the steps that are necessary for that installation. But first, we'll overview what parts you need for an installation. So starting with the BaseLine Towers, set of 4. So the BaseLine Tower is what you see here, designed for vehicles that have a bare roof. That is combined with the base clips. Those base clips are sold in sets of 2. You'll need 2 sets of 2 for a base roof rack system. And then you have, of course, the JetStream load bars. There's 2 load bars. You'll have the bar end caps and the tower adapter that you see here. So that's what we'll get started with first. We'll go ahead and install the adapter, and we'll install that into the tower. So the first step in doing that is we'll go ahead and just remove the outer cover. You'll notice there's 3 dots on each side. Those are your indication of where to squeeze. You squeeze that in and pivot it down, and that'll detach the outer cover. Now this outer cover does have a place to insert a Yakima SKS lock core. That lock core is sold separately in sets. A base roof rack system would require a set of 4, and that would be a matched set of cores that will lock this cover, preventing access to the fasteners that are holding the rack to the vehicle, and thereby giving you a strong theft deterrent for your roof rack and things that may be locked to the roof rack. So moving on, we have you can see the inner workings of this tower. There's several adjustments to make this tower fit the vehicle perfectly. So there's 2 adjustments that are designed for gripping the base clip to the door frame, but there's also some other adjustments on the underside of the tower. So the one that we're going to focus in on first is, and to actually access those, you'll see there's this gray lever that you pull out, and that gives us access to a fastener that's inside right here. So along with your towers, you'll receive a specialty tool from Yakima, and this tool is designed to give you a perfect tightness with a built-in tightening indicator for each fastener, along with, of course, instructions, a measuring tape, and a sticker to identify what your towers are. So we're going to go ahead and identify this one for the rear. That way you know what you're working with. Just stick that to the back side. Okay, so the first step in attaching this to the bar is attaching this spacer, which snaps into place in this cavity here. So we just snap that in. And then next, now that we have access to that fastener there, we'll insert this metal connector. And when we're doing this, what's important to understand is that this is going to be sliding into the underside of the bar, this metal connector as well as the 2 plastic tabs. So you can tighten this fastener up until you have the metal connector about flush with those plastic tabs. Next, we want to, of course, make sure we put the tower on in the proper orientation. This is incorrect, this is correct, and you can see the structure of the bar here. We have the infill T-slot at the top for accessories, and then we have the slot on the underside that accommodates the tower. So I'm going to get that plastic piece engaged, then the metal, and then the second plastic piece. Now if you get to a point where it's not sliding on evenly, it's because it's rubbing against this plastic. There is somewhat of a sharp edge on that bar, and that makes it difficult to tighten up sometimes, so you can, or to slide on, so I can loosen up a little bit more and maybe rock it back and forth and get it on there. Okay, so now it's on, and at this stage we can start making some of the other adjustments. So the next adjustment that we want to do is the distance between the 2 towers. That is a designated measurement that's included with the base clips. So the measurement, the instructions will include potentially other vehicles. So of course you want to identify the vehicle that you're working with. It's basically broken up into 2 main columns. You have front measurements and you have rear measurements. And so we've already done all the front, so we're going to focus in on the rear. And then here I'm just going to see exactly the distance between the two bars. In this case, it is 36 1/4. So Yakima has provided us with measurements that are already on the bar. They've also provided us with a dead center arrow. That's telling us exactly what the center of the bar. So they're giving us more than one way to get that measurement dialed in with the included measuring tape. So 36 1/4, so we can come over here to where these measurements are and bring that tower so that the inside edge is at our 36 1/4. And then we can also verify that by using our measuring tape to make sure that our 36 1/4 is overall is correct. So I had it at 34 1/4. Let's put it at 36 1/4. It's always good to double check yourself. Okay, and then that does match the actual measurement provided. Okay, so there I have that. It's in place, but I'm not ready to tighten it down yet because we have some technical features to identify first. So back at the fastener, that's the one that we use to tighten on the bar adapter, is also the one that fully secures it to the bar, but also provides pitch. Pitch is the adjustment that allows the tower to have the proper angle to match the angle on the roof. There's also, and that's that inside fastener there. There's also this outside fastener, which I'll loosen it a little bit. From the factory, it comes tightened. So that is a toe adjustment. There's 3 positions for the toe adjustment. So the toe adjustment is so that it matches the angle of where it sits on the roof. So for this particular vehicle, I can see here that my 2 adjustments are C and 3. So these adjustments are the letters for the pitch, and these adjustments for the toe are numbers. So I want to put those in the correct position so I get that perfect fit. Now these indications at this time are not actually labeled 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. However, you do have the reference from inside the manual that comes with the towers to tell you. So we have the 1, 2, 3 for the toe, and then the A, B, C for the pitch. And so here you can use these letters and identify the orientation of the bar. You can see the arrow, and also identifies with the arrow here. So we want to have it on C, and so C would be pushing it all the way towards me. Okay, so I'll get that there, and now I can go ahead and tighten that down fully, making sure that it hasn't moved from my 36 1/4, which it did slightly, so let me put that back. Okay, so I got that. Now here you can see how this tool works. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it, and you have 3 clicks, which indicates that it's fully tightened to factory settings. Okay, next we have the toe, and the toe is the 1, 2, 3, and it's set to 3 for this vehicle. So I'm going to put it at 3. That's the measurement. That's the indication right there. And then I'm going to tighten this one. 1, 2, 3. I got my clicks. So that's, now this won't move. So the next step is, once we're satisfied with the positioning of everything, we can go ahead and fill in this underside track with the provided rubber. So when you're doing that, this is designed to where the rubber will actually press in and go slightly under, about 1 inch underneath that tower, and then you'll press it in along the length. The JetStream bar is a unique bar in that it has a track on the underside that runs the full length of the bar. So there is no limitation in how long of a bar you could potentially install onto a vehicle. We're of course installing the recommended length for this vehicle. Now at this point you just want to let it overhang slightly, and knowing that we also have room for about 1 inch, I'm going to cut it slightly long with a standard household scissors, and then I'll pull it back and then just tuck this up underneath and then press it back down in there. Okay, so we got that whole area covered up. Again, that's crucial. Without that rubber strip, an exposed slot will definitely generate wind noise. Next, we want to fill in the opposite side, and what we want to make sure we do is that we fill it in, but we don't cover up this hole. That hole is there for the end cap, there's a detent which matches up to that hole. So when you snap it on, it snaps and this rubber doesn't get in the way. So I'm going to just press it in, slide it until it stops, identify where that is. I can do it with my finger and I can see where I need to go. And then I'll cut it, reinsert. So we haven't covered up that hole. And then you simply just match the shape of the end cap to the shape of the bar, and just always make sure you don't attempt to put that tab into the slot. It goes on the top of the slot always. So you can get it going, and then if you lift slightly, it'll allow you to go until it snaps into that hole. Okay, so that's all finished for the bar. Next, what we want to do is install our base pad. The base pad has a number assigned to it, also a directional arrow. The arrow is to be facing to the outside. You can see there's a slot here, and that's where your baseline clip will be coming through. So that's the direction. Now it's a pretty simple connection, just 2 metal posts, and then the slot that this connects into, you just set it on those posts, and you'll have 2 clicks that ensure that it's connected properly. Okay, so next we're ready to take this over to the vehicle. So the next measurement that we'll want to be aware of is the distance from the front bar to the rear bar. So the front bar is already installed, so we can measure based off of the position of that bar. I'm going to go ahead and just put this on temporarily, just so I have it with me. I'm going to take my measuring tape, my tool, and the base clips with me to the vehicle. So that distance from the front bar to the rear bar is 32 inches. So I can just remember that, and I'm going to take this bar over to the vehicle. So very important, anytime you're installing a roof rack to a vehicle, make sure that you've cleaned the surface of the vehicle so that you're attaching the roof rack to a clean vehicle to begin with. Now here, I'm just going to rest it gently on the roof, and then I'm going to get my first measurement, that 32 inches, which is from the front of the bar to the front of the rear bar. And there's our 32, and I'll just kind of estimate where the other side should be, double check it. And we'll be remeasuring this a few times before we're finished, up until the point when the door frame bracket is fully tight. So here, just so you understand the measurement of this front bar, the measurement provided is 7 inches, and the 7 inches starts at where the windshield ends and then goes to the beginning of the base pad. And so there's our 7 inches, and then here's our 32 inches. Now I'm going to go to the opposite side and get that side started. I'm going to double check that it's 32 inches. I'll take off my cover, open the door, and then these steps I'm going to go into full detail when I get to that side, so you'll understand exactly how it works on the opposite side. So one of the things when you're doing a roof rack of this type is that you'll be going back and forth from side to side to ensure that you have even tension on both sides of the vehicle. You don't want to tighten fully one side and then tighten the other side fully. You want to go back and forth and get even tension between the 2 sides. So at that point, I have that side with just the slack removed and basically in place, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. I'm just setting that cover aside. Okay, so here you have a panel, a hinged panel that you just flip over to the side. That'll expose the clip, the place where the clip is inserted, and I'll show exactly where that goes. You can see there's a piece of metal there, and then that is where the clip is inserted until it connects to that fastener on the inside. So now we have it connected. The other attachment is, the other adjustment is this one, and you can see it clearly how it actually pulls that base clip towards the door frame. So I'm going to start with it lifted up, and these are always set to factory to be loose. So I'll bring that down into the door frame. So again, I want to double check my measurement because we have moved things around. Okay, so we're back at our 32 inches. Now here I just want to make sure this door frame bracket has movement where you can adjust it back and forth, and you want to just make sure that it has no gaps on the front or rear at the door frame. So it's a combination of tightening this fastener and this fastener one after the other until you get everything fully secured. Okay, so at this point it's not fully tightened. I'm going to go back to the other side and do the final tensioning on this side. And you'll hear those 3 clicks. And then you'll hear another 3 clicks that this side is fully tensioned to specifications. I'll close the panel and put the cover on, and that side is complete. Here we can complete this side by pulling up both fasteners. This one's ready to go to full tightness, and now this one's ready to full tightness. We'll close that panel. That's been pressed in already. We've got the cover, which has 2 hooks that connect into the base of the tower, and then it'll snap in place. At this point, if you had locks, you would lock it for the security. But otherwise, we have a complete installation. It is important to check to make sure, according to the instructions, to make sure that there's no movement, that you pull hard on the clips, that they don't pull out, and you have a good, strong, sturdy platform for attaching carriers. So those are all the key information and overview of the installation of the BaseLine JetStream base roof rack system. I'm Paul with RackOutfitters.com, and thank you for watching.